There are moments in tech history that just hit different, especially if you grew up as a guy in the 90s or early 2000s, obsessed with every new upgrade and hack. It wasn't just about the specs or the benchmarks, it was about the thrill, the brotherhood, the late-night LAN parties and the endless debates over Pentium versus AMD. For a lot of us, the mid to late 90s was the golden era, the time when every electronics store was a treasure trove and unboxing a new PC felt like Christmas morning. This was the dawn of the modern PC, when Windows 95 dropped and suddenly, the world was at your fingertips. The internet was a wild frontier and every guy with a dial-up connection felt like a digital pioneer. This isn't just a history lesson, it's a throwback to the days when your desk was covered in floppy disks, Mountain Dew cans, and maybe a stack of PC Gamer magazines. Imagine the glow of a CRT in your bedroom, the adrenaline rush of hearing, "You've got mail," and the magic of a world where computers felt like your best wingman. This was the age of Windows 95, the screech of dial-up modems, and the lawless playground of the early web, where every download felt like a victory. Getting online was a mission. You'd wait, you'd pray no one picked up the phone, and when that Netscape logo spun, you knew you were about to discover something epic. Today we're cranking the nostalgia up to 11, dusting off the memories of Sound Blaster cards, Voodoo graphics, and the first time you installed a game from a stack of floppy disks. Whether you were the guy meticulously tweaking your autoexec.bat, downloading MIDI files at 3 a.m. or just trying to get Doom to run smoother, this ride's for you. We're diving into why this era was so legendary for geeks, gamers, and every dude who ever felt like a king behind a beige box. This is a time capsule for the guys who remember when a beige tower and a dial-up modem were your ticket to the world. Let's fire it up and relive the glory days. Alright guys, let's crank up the nostalgia. You can't talk about the golden age of computing without starting with the main event, Windows 95. Before this, let's be honest, using a PC was like joining an exclusive club for tech heads. It was all about command lines, cryptic interfaces, and you basically needed to be a wizard, or at least know your IRQs from your COM ports. Then, out of nowhere, Microsoft dropped the hammer. They didn't just launch an OS, they threw a worldwide bash that made you feel like you were part of something epic. They licensed Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones, lit up the Empire State Building, and pulled off stunts that made it feel like a rock concert for computer geeks everywhere. It was a cultural earthquake, and the software? It actually lived up to the hype. The start menu? Man, that was a revelation. Suddenly everything you needed was just a click away. No more memorizing arcane commands, plug and play was a lifesaver. You could finally hook up your Sound Blaster or Sidewinder joystick without sweating over jumpers and dip switches. And multitasking? You could have Doom running in one window, your dial-up BBS in another, and still feel like a boss. For the first time, the family PC was actually fun. LAN parties, shareware games, and late-night tinkering became the norm. That beige box wasn't just a tool, it was your command center, your gaming rig, your ticket to the digital frontier. For every guy who grew up in the 90s or 2000s, it was pure magic. So you've just unboxed your beastly Windows 95 rig, tower case, chunky CRT, and that satisfying click of a mechanical keyboard. Now the real quest begins, getting online. Back then, logging on was a full-on geek ritual. No instant Wi-Fi, no silent connections, just pure anticipation. Enter the dial-up modem, that glorious box of blinking LEDs ready to unleash its signature screech, the digital battle cry of nerds everywhere. For those few seconds, the whole house was on edge, waiting for the handshake to finish, like a LAN party before the first frag. You'd grab the phone, praying nobody was on a call because one wrong move and your connection quest was over. Then, double-click that AOL or CompuServe icon, your portal to the wild frontier of the early web. You'd sit there, listening to the modem symphony, hoping for that final satisfying that meant you were in, mission accomplished. That sound? It was the overture to every late-night gaming session, every epic forum debate, every Napster download, and once you were online, it was a whole different world. The anticipation was half the fun, like waiting for your favorite game to load from floppy. Hearing, "You've got mail?" from the AOL guy? That was the original notification rush, way cooler than any smartphone ping. Every minute online was precious, metered, and always at risk of someone picking up the phone and nuking your connection mid-download. It made the computer a sacred battle station, a place where brothers, dads, and friends gathered for digital adventures. You didn't just surf, you embarked on a quest. Every click was an adventure, and the journey was just as epic as the destination. If you ever braved the dial-up screech, you know the thrill of logging on felt like firing up a starship. You'd land in a digital playground. Think the ultimate LAN party, but for the whole world. The early web was pure chaos, like a BBS gone wild. Forget clean lines and corporate polish. This was all about raw, unfiltered creativity. No rules, just code. Every page was a wild experiment. Blinking GIFs, neon fonts, and backgrounds that would make your sound blaster cry. This was the golden age of GeoCities, where any guy with a Pentium and a dream could stake his claim on the web. You'd carve out your own digital man cave, complete with "Welcome to my homepage" banners. These sites were loaded with MIDI soundtracks, scrolling marquees, and enough animated GIFs to crash Netscape. And let's not forget the legendary under construction signs, like digital caution tape for your latest hack. It was pure, unfiltered geek expression. No gatekeepers, just passion. You'd stumble onto a shrine for someone's cat, or a page dedicated to their custom PC build. And every site had that classic hit counter, proof your buddies actually visited. Or maybe a fan page for your favorite sci-fi show, glowing like a radioactive motherboard. This was the .com boom, when every wild idea felt like it could be the next big thing. The possibilities were endless, and every geek with a modem was a pioneer. It was the age of the chat room, ICQ, where your UIN was your badge of honor. AIM, MSN Messenger, your digital hangouts after school or work. You could chat with strangers across the globe, trading game tips or arguing over the best graphics card. It wasn't about perfect content, it was about discovery, connection, and the brotherhood of building something epic, one pixel at a time. Alright guys, let's geek out for a minute, because the hardware back then, it was legendary. The physical side of computing was half the fun. We all remember those massive tank-like beige CRT monitors, cathode ray tube beasts that dominated our desks. They weighed a ton, hogged your entire workspace, and gave off that unmistakable, warm glow that just screamed late-night gaming session. There was a real, almost macho presence to the tech. These machines had heft. Firing one up, you'd get that high-pitched whine, and if you ran your hand across the screen, you'd feel the static, like a badge of honor. These weren't just gadgets, they were the centerpiece of the room, real hardware you could brag about. And those towers? Each one had its own personality. Guys would slap on stickers, swap out parts, and mod them to the max. The beige box wasn't just a computer, it was the family's command center, the ultimate man cave accessory. Everyone had to take turns, whether it was for games, homework, or dialing up to the wild west of the early internet. You'd find it right in the living room or den, front and center, not tucked away but proudly on display. This was where you first conquered Doom, racked up high scores in Solitaire and Minesweeper, or braved the Oregon Trail with your buddies. The whirring hard drive, the clack of a mechanical keyboard, the satisfying thunk of a floppy disk, those were the sounds of pure, unfiltered geek joy. That was our playground. So, what is it about the 90s and early 2000s that makes every tech-loving guy look back with such a grin? It was the ultimate playground, a golden age for every dude who loved to tinker, game, or just mess with tech. For the hardcore geeks, it was pure bliss. You could build your own rig from scratch with parts you scored at a computer fair, push your Pentium to the limit with some risky overclocking, and dive deep into config files, tweaking every setting until your machine ran just right. There was this raw satisfaction in cracking open your case and knowing exactly what made your beast tick. It was a brotherhood of tech mastery, and the online forums and IRC channels were packed with fellow enthusiasts always ready to help or debate. But even if you weren't a hardcore geek, it was still a blast for any guy who wanted in. Windows 95 made it easy. Suddenly you didn't need to be a wizard to have fun. The thrill was in the hunt. Every new game, every website, every late-night chat room was a new adventure. The sounds, the glow of the monitor, the modem's screech, it was sensory overload in the best way. Even waiting for a JPEG to load felt like a victory when it finally appeared. The impact was everywhere. Tech was suddenly cool. Computers were in every blockbuster, every rock song, and every dinner table debate about who got the next turn online. It was a time when every guy felt like he was stepping into the future, together. For guys who grew up in the golden age of dial-up, floppy disks, and LAN parties, this isn't just nostalgia, it's a badge of honor. The whole 90s and early 2000s tech scene is making a serious comeback, and it's got that unmistakable geek energy. You see it in music and art, vaporwave, synthwave, and those pixel-perfect graphics that look straight out of a Windows 95 screensaver. It's all about those pastel colors, the iconic Windows 95 startup chime, and even those random Greco-Roman busts that somehow just work. The chunky, pixelated graphics we grew up with, they're now a legit art style. No shame in loving that 8-bit look. It's everywhere. Indie games, music videos, even desktop wallpapers that look like they belong on your old Pentium 2. But it's not just about the visuals. The spirit of that era, the DIY upgrades, the late-night troubleshooting, the pride in building your own rig, is alive and kicking. You see it in the retro gaming scene, where guys are still crushing high scores on arcade cabinets and N64s, or firing up emulators on a Raspberry Pi to relive those epic Quake or Doom sessions. Some guys are even hunting down the real hardware, scouring flea markets for that perfect Sound Blaster card or a working zip drive. YouTube is packed with channels run by dudes restoring beige box PCs and showing off their epic setups. Watching someone bring a dusty old Pentium back to life, that's pure geek satisfaction. And let's be real, there's something awesome about seeing if a Windows 98 box can still load Reddit. Social media is full of guys posting screenshots of classic GUIs, BIOS screens, and their latest retro hauls. Those posts rack up thousands of likes from fellow tech bros who get it. It's like a never-ending LAN party, a celebration of the days when you and your buddies ruled the basement. Back when tech was a little more hands-on, a little more wild, and a whole lot more fun. Here's to the glory days of geekdom. Long may they live. So what's the real reason this era sticks with us guys who grew up glued to a glowing screen? Why do so many men look back at these chunky PCs and dial-up tones with such a goofy grin? It comes down to a few things only true tech heads and digital adventurers will get. For us, it was the raw thrill of discovery, booting up Windows 95, hearing that startup chime and feeling like kings of our own digital domain. The internet wasn't just a tool, it was a wild frontier. Every login was an adventure, every AOL chat room a new quest. It was like exploring a digital jungle gym, GeoCities, AngelFire, and forums full of fellow nerds. The slow speeds, the endless loading bars, the clunky UIs, those were the rites of passage. When you finally got that game to run or that download to finish, it felt like a victory. And for the hardcore geeks, it was pure power. You could tinker, break things, fix them, and push the limits of what your beige box could do. It was a brotherhood of LAN parties, late-night coding, and swapping floppy disks full of shareware and secrets. You could build your own website from scratch, run a Quake server from your bedroom, or code up a chat program that made you the hero of your friend group. It was messy, loud, and absolutely electrifying. A golden age for every guy who ever dreamed in code. That mix of wide-eyed wonder and hands-on hacking made the 90s and early 2000s a legendary era for geeky guys everywhere. Alright guys, let's put it all together. The legendary start menu, the unforgettable screech of the dial-up modem, the blue glow of a CRT monitor lighting up your bedroom at 2 a.m., and the wild, pixelated chaos of the early web. This wasn't just a chapter in a tech manual. The Windows 95 and dial-up era was a badge of honor for every guy who ever built his own rig, swapped out RAM, or spent hours customizing his Winamp skins. Our computers weren't just tools. They were our sidekicks, our wingmen, our ticket to LAN parties, and late-night gaming marathons. And honestly, you can still chase that old-school vibe if you know where to look. I want to hear from the guys who remember the thrill of a new graphics card or the pride of a perfectly organized MP3 collection. What's your ultimate memory from those days? Was it building your first GeoCities site, your first epic AIM chat, or getting lost in Duke Nukem, Quake, or Command & Conquer until sunrise? Keep those retro vibes alive, fellas. Go dig up some old tech blogs, fire up an emulator, and relive those classic games, or just get lost in the internet archive for a while. Let me know what you dig up. Drop your best 90s or 2000s tech memory in the comments. Bonus points for epic LAN party stories or tales of dial-up disasters. It's been a blast reliving the glory days. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay geeky.